My experience with the plant is that I didn't learn of its existence until I think late middle school when my town of Bow was having this big lawsuit battle over millions of dollars with Eversource.
We're a town of about 8,000 people. We have a town manager, but pretty small fry compared to Eversource, which is like this enormous, very wealthy company. Eversource was the former owner of the Merrimack Station. The town adjusted the property value, and so they were paying more taxes. Eversource felt that it was overestimated and ended up deciding that the town had been overtaxing them for a number of years and sued the town.
The scrubber is an interesting story because, we were, of course, advocating for some type of pollution control, and even the modern standards are not really adequate to protect public health or the environment. We were arguing with the plant owner at the time, PSNH, over whether it was going to cost $100 million or $150 million. The price actually ended up getting closer to $500 million for this scrubber, and we are all paying for it to this day on our electric bills. It's called the stranded cost charge.
And it's not just in New Hampshire that we're paying these subsidies. These funds are coming out of electric bills throughout New England. Even if you don't live in Bow, you're paying for this power plant to be there.
Our original strategy was that they might find it cheaper to just not run the plant. And if you look at $500 million in capital costs, it would have been cheaper to shut the plant down. But for the fact that the utility was able to put it on the ratepayers, that's the way the system was set up. So they really played the system very well.
I feel really frustrated as an individual. How do I stop paying for this power plant? It seems like I don't have a choice. Towns downstream, Hooksett, that are built right on the beautiful riverbank, they're paying for this plant to pollute their river and their air as well.
It's ironic, the town of Bow is fairly wealthy, but most of the pollution impact goes into Pembroke and Allenstown, which these plants are situated in places that impact people of lesser means. So there is a big social justice concern as well.
And unfortunately, a lot of these plants are put in areas where people who are sort of out of no choice of their own are living in industrial areas because that's the only place they can afford to live.
As such, they feel the consequences, the harmful actions of the coal plant, of the emissions, of the pollution at a much more intimate level.
I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts, where there was a coal plant throughout my entire childhood. I definitely have heard people say oh, you live near this coal plant, it's impacting you negatively, why don't you just move? But that's not a realistic solution for the 25,000 people that live in a city next to a coal plant. Wasn't realistic for my family, so we had to just live with it.
I want to be involved because how much harm it can cause more towards the minority populations than white populations. I sort of just want to be an advocate for people that are like me.
We should all be aware of what's happening to the environment, what's happening to the people who live in that environment.
The Bow plant was built to be a baseload generator. It's supposed to run most of the time. It was running 87-90% of the time back when we were working on it 20 years ago. Now it's 5% maybe at most. It's what they call a peaking plant, and it doesn't work well as a peaking plant. Coal in general does not work as a peaking fuel. We need to get off of that concept and start thinking more in terms of diversity of sources.
Locally, we really see that property as a huge potential for our town. It's got access to the rail, it's got access to the main power lines, access to the river. If it wasn't a air polluting, water polluting, soil polluting coal plant, those property values would jump up. Those fields would be much more inviting. We can see areas right along the river being rejuvenated and more useful, more used by the people of Bow, but also surrounding towns.